Hello there. Today, let's talk about house hacking, what it is, how to do it, where do you find the deals, and is it even possible in 2024? My name is Shah, and I'm a real estate agent in the Metro Detroit area. What house hacking is that when you live in a spot and you own it, and you basically rent out or have other places of your spot rented out to other tenants or roommates. So essentially, this would be like you having a house or a condo with 3 to 4 bedrooms. You live in one bedroom and you have 3 roommates. Or if you had like a multifamily unit or like an ADU in the backyard or like a separate off garage or like a basement that's turned into a living space, you can rent those places out while you live at the house. So essentially at the core logic of house hacking is that you own a place and you rent out other places at that place. This could even go as far as maybe renting out a garage or shed or like space in your backyard for someone to have their stuff there, like a truck in the garage or like a parking spot or like, RV in your backyard if you have a lot. So house hacking can even go far as other things than just tenants. It can be items, storage, or just for other uses. I've seen people rent out their parking spots to other people in their neighborhood that they can use. That's even a small house hack. It doesn't make as much money, but it's still money. Now let's talk about how do you do it and how do you get into it. So for the beautiful thing about house hack is that you can do it almost any situation, as far as getting roommates, right? Even places where they have restrictions, you can always get a roommate. The only place that you might have way more restrictions is that if you're in a 55 and up community, and sometimes they don't even allow people who are under 55 to live with the guy who is 55 and up. So you really have to check sometimes in the community, but for the most cases, you can always have a roommate living with you, and you can always charge rent there. The only thing about house hacking in those type of situations I would ever say that where it's very hard to rent out in general is that if you plan on moving out, it's not going to become such a good investment property, but it still can be a good idea just to reduce your living cost. Now, for house hacking as investment purposes, it's still a good idea for a new investor, right? Because you get to learn about how to manage a property while living there, right? So you don't have to drive anywhere. You're right there if anything happens. You can experience property management at a very small stage, which is a good way to get introduced into it. You can build equity and you can lower your living cost while getting into a property. And sometimes getting into a multifamily property, it's easier that way because you can qualify for like a less than 20% down loan. You can put as little as 3% on some multifamily properties if it's 2 to 4 units if you plan on living there for the first year. So that's also a good reason why you can house hack is to reduce your cost of getting into a property. I do want to misspell some myths and beliefs about house hacking. So house hacking is definitely harder than it was 10, 15 years ago, It's a lot easier to get in properties, buy for a lower cost, and rents were higher compared to what things costed back then. So it made sense to house hack very easily as an investment deal. But I wouldn't, you don't really see as many investment deals like that unless you're trying to get into the property for less than 20% down. Now, going to this example right here, this is a duplex right here. It costed $240K. Now, this would have been a deal 10 years ago where you could have easily found this something like in 2014, 2012, 2015. You could have easily found deals like this. And you probably could have found a lot of deals like this even in like 2019, 2020 when the rates were really down or right through the pandemic and before the pandemic. You bought this property for $240K and your cost around $1,500 a month, Now, Bob could buy this property and he can rent this property out, both units for $1,100. Now, if Bob decided to stay in one of the units, his cost would only be around $400 a month, right? Because $1,500 minus 11 is $400. These type of deals is very hard to come by nowadays in 2024 because of the high rates. Rents haven't gone up as much as what housing prices have gone up by. Rents have been going up, don't get me wrong, there's a crisis there too. But housing prices have been going up so fast and so high that, it's like the cost of owning a home in many places is more expensive than renting out in many places. Forgetting about the equity and that stuff, but just like a monthly cost versus, who's spending more. Yeah, homeownership might cost more in many situations. These type of situations are hard to come by now. So look, these type of deals are going to be hard to come by, but it's still possible to find them, but they're definitely a lot harder to come by. If you are going to be investing like that, you're going to have to hope that the property goes up in appreciation and value and that the rents are going to go up in the future. Because then maybe, theoretically in 10 years, the prices of those properties have gone up, rents have gone up now, where it now is higher than your mortgage cost, and now you're probably making money, right? But you have to you're taking that risk of appreciation and rents going up, and I have to let you guys know that before you decide to do something like this. Now, is it possible in other situations? It's still possible to house hack, right? If you want to get into a property and you want to live somewhere, this could be your way to reduce your living cost for a long time, right? If you plan to make this your forever home, it could be a good option, you can always rent it out. This is very similar to getting an apartment and splitting the rent with a bunch of roommates like if you did in college, right? But you're essentially doing it with a place that you own. So if you're trying to get into a spot, this might be a way to get home ownership in an expensive market, but then reduce your cost to something that you can afford. And in the long run, this could be something that you could rent out in the future. But you're going to be doing a lot more risk taking than someone who did it in 2012 or 2014. And just want to give you that context. Now, if you want a house hack today and you really want to make profit, you have to be a lot more creative and unconventional in many ways compared to people 10 years ago. If you want a house hack and you really want to be successful, or you want to get into a house hacking deal, I need to tell you about one main thing that is important about house hacking that I don't think people ever talk about as much, is that your personality and how you want to live your life. House hacking is definitely a lot more of an unconventional means of living than, most of America that we assume of, it's not typical of the single family home with the picket fence. You're living with other people, and you have roommates. You might be living in a property where there's other units on there and you're sharing that front yard, backyard with other people. You have next door neighbors right there living right above you, next to you, or below you. It's a different lifestyle, and some people don't want to do that. If you want a house hack and you don't have a duplex, you have to house hack by the room. So you might have to have roommates. If you don't want to have roommates, then it might not be your option for you if you can't stand living with other people. It is for the people who are open to these type of options or these availabilities. I've seen many successful stories of house hacking, but it goes well with their situation and what the family or person is comfortable with. For example, I know a guy in Detroit. He wants to live in the city because he wants to work there, and he does a lot of things in the city. And he really wants to be part of the Midtown growth. And he has a few roommates and guys that he wants to live with because he's a young guy. So what he's about to do is he's about to buy a duplex, live in the top unit, rent out the other 2 bedrooms to his friends, and rent out the entire unit on the bottom. He's doing an ultimate house hack where he's renting out his own spot and the unit below him. And in this situation, it works out because he was anyways going to be paying for rent, and now it comes to maybe below what he would be paying for rent. He's still paying money out of his pocket, but he's at least now having his costs reduced significantly. And if he were to rent it out fully, he probably would be breaking even, or maybe barely breaking, making some money on the property. But in the long run, he knows that rents are going to go up, and he believes that the property value goes up, and he's convicted on that property. Now, in those type of situations, a house hack could work for that guy. Or I've seen a couple where they bought a triplex, and the top floor is a single bedroom. The couple decided to move up to the single bedroom before they had a baby, and they rented out the other 2 units. And then they eventually moved out. But those type of situations can work for certain people, and if you're comfortable with that. Now, if you're trying to find a house hack deal, what should you look for, and how should you find a deal and analyze it? What I would suggest you do is go and look at a deal, right? Go look at properties and look at what the property would rent out for as an individual bedroom or as a separate unit if you're looking at a duplex. My last video on YouTube is about how to do comps on Zillow. For rentals, it's essentially the same thing you do. You basically just want to look at properties very close and similar to your property, or like similar square feet in size and bedrooms and bathrooms, and you just compare what they go for, sold comps. Ask your realtor for the sold data of rentals, and you can see the photos of those rentals too. Then you look at the price of the property and you see how much it would cost you each month to live in there. And you have to do an analysis there of what you want to do with it. If you're planning to make this an investment property, do an analysis of when I move out and I rent that unit out, how much would that go for and how much money would I make? You're going to be making not as much as these people who did it in the 2012 example with Bob, but you still could be making some money, and in the long run, you're building equity, right? So you have to look at things that way when you're trying to do a house hack. And then once you're finally there, then you figure it out. If you're going to be living with people and friends and roommates, figure out how much is a fair rent you want to charge to your friends. Those are your friends, so you have to consider that and factor. If you're going to live with random people, really understand and set boundaries in how you live your home and how you set your home. You've got to be comfortable with, kitchen rules and stuff like that, if you're going to have random roommates live with you. Same thing with a duplex or multifamily. You got to make sure you have set rules on how do you manage the front grounds. Are you just going to hire somebody? Are you guys going to share responsibilities? You got to set these set rules for people when they're about to move into your spot. If you have any questions about house hacking or you want to know more about it, feel free to contact me or DM me or just comment below. My name is Shah. I'm from the Metro Detroit area. Thank you guys for watching.